Hey everybody, Vicki Fitch here, your direct sales expert, coming to you live from sunny Southern California. Now, I am the host of Vicki Fitch Live, A Fresh Perspective, but you guys probably remember, typically on the first Wednesday of the month, we do the Evict the Bully in Your Head series. I have a new book coming out called Evict the Bully in Your Head that talks about why you're not good enough, smart enough, strong enough, or enough. In some way, shape, or form, you're not enough. So I bring guests that are stellar, that bring you series of information that shows you the trials and tragedies they've gone through and how they turn them into triumph. So I am really proud and excited to announce on episode 10 here of Vicki Fitch Live, that Evict the Bully in Your Head, I have Miss Allison Krause. Allison, please join me. I am so excited that you are here. You're an amazing woman that has inspired me in many ways, and I know you're going to inspire this audience as well, and I'm so excited that you're here. How are you?
I'm doing good. Slightly nervous, but I'm going to be fine.
Okay. Well, your audio is a little bit low, so I'm going to ask you to either project yourself just a teeny bit, because I know nerves can make us drop our voice a little bit, but I want you to forget the audience for a minute. I'm going to talk to a few people. I'm going to talk to, because we do have, it's a podcast, right? And so for those of you guys who have downloaded the podcast, I want to thank you for that. And if you would like to see the video version, you can see it on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Vicki Fitch. You can also see it at vickifitch.com/Vicki Fitch Live, and as well as here on my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Vicki Fitch1. So we've got information all around. You're definitely going to want to check out the lovely Allison Krause. Tonight is going to be, there's definitely going to be some tears shed. There's no doubt. But I got to tell you, this woman has brought so much hope and so much courage and so much joy that you are going to be amazed. So Allison, how are you today? We're going to start with some soft topics, right? We're going to start with things like, I do have a thought for the day. I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite social media platform, first of all?
Probably Facebook.
Okay.
Facebook and Snapchat. Those are probably my two big go-tos.
Okay. And so I know you've become quite a Snapchatter, right? That's kind of a fun place that you guys kind of hang out and kind of do your fun thing. And I see we have some really great guests here. I see Wagner Dos Santos is in the house. Relentless Raymond is here. And they said I don't bite. Don't be nervous because I don't bite. It's true. There's no biting at all. No biting. And I promise I will protect you fiercely. No one will bite. We have people in here. If somebody gets out of line, we'll just delete whatever they have to say, because nobody would do that anyway. But if they did, we would totally get it taken care of, right? So we're all safe here. That's good. She threw a thumbs up for those of you on the podcast, because she is probably a little bit nervous, but I don't want you to be nervous. Allie, why don't you tell me about your favorite place to just be alone and chill out?
Gosh, if I could just transport anywhere, it would be on the beach, somewhere warm on the beach.
Yeah.
Since I don't have access to one of those things that you can transport really quickly, just anywhere by the water. No, I tried that.
The genie trick doesn't work for you?
Yeah, I've tried that a few times. I've clicked my heels a few times. It doesn't work. But anywhere where I can go for like a lake, or go away to anywhere else outdoors, out in nature somewhere.
Okay. Those are good things, right? And just kind of refreshing, right? And getting the sun and the breeze and the fresh trees and stuff like that. And I see David Gonzalez is in the house as well. I think Anthony Conklin is here. So I see Nikki is in the house. So again, you got some really close friends that are here, watching our video. So yeah, so we're all good there. Okay. So tell us now, first of all, you are a massage therapist, which I know is going to really make people excited. I mean, that's exactly how people need to, kind of de-stress themselves, right? Is through massage and taking care of their body. So tell us a little bit about massage, and what is it that got you going, in that direction to be a massage therapist?
Well, I was injured back. I was an athlete growing up. So I blew out my knee when I was in high school, and then I went to physical therapy a lot. And that's when I really got into wanting to get into sports medicine.
Uh-huh.
When I went to college, I got recruited, and the only type of sports medicine that they had at the time, I wanted to do physical therapy, but they had an athletic training program. So I decided to go that route. And then through athletic training, towards the end of my internship, I just started getting more people having to work with people in the training room, people would just start saying, oh, I'm waiting for Allie. She's going to work on me. I'm waiting for Allie to work on, So I ended up going to massage school over the summer, and that just kind of just turned into something that I really, really love to do.
Okay.
I really like working with active people. So obviously I was around athletes for so long. So
sure. Well, and so tell us, like, pretend nobody else is here. So did you work on any celebrities? Do you have any really maybe even up and coming people that you had to work on?
The closest thing I think was I got an opportunity to work on Oakland Raider.
Huh?
Mine was interning in Oakland for the Raiders, and I worked on him for a couple times. Well, my friend who was the intern, I had worked on. He was what do you call that? Bodybuilder.
Yeah, sure.
He had some issues in his shoulder. I helped him out. He was like, "Oh my gosh!" So when he went up to work for the Raiders, he ended up calling me and inviting me to come up and work with a player. So that was probably my biggest claim to fame. So.
Well, and I think too, it's just kind of fun that when we start doing something and we get excited about it and we become really good at it, like you said, when people start asking for you and say, she's going to take care of me, they start calling you, they start seeking you out, it starts to give us some credibility, right? It starts to show that we have some expertise in our field and that people are starting to value us. Not only, they start valuing our reputation and value our skill set. And, this show about Evict the Bully in Your Head is really about starting to understand how to value ourselves as people, right? And not just, there's a great song by J.J. Heller, and one of the lines in it is that she says, I want someone to love me for me, not for what I have done or what I'll become, but just to love me for me. And I think it's really important that we understand that we have to love ourselves first. Otherwise, we allow circumstances and situations to kind of, take the carpet out from underneath us. And we're trying to here with this show to try and build that back up for people to start showing themselves value and believing in themselves, even when the odds are stacked against them or things aren't going their way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that saying, though. That's like one of my favorite sayings. Just love me for me, not what I'm supposed to do, who you think I'm supposed to be. But
right. Right. And see, so you can totally relate to the whole concept of Evict the Bully in Your Head, because there's things that tell us that we're not good enough or smart enough. And so we have to perform. We've got to do it right so people will love us and they'll care about us and they'll think we're cool or they'll think we're good. And we're going to try and dispel some of that today. And I see that Mia is in the house. Welcome, Mia. Stacy Lynn Harp is here. I saw some other people and they are really, really supportive. They're talking about the support they have for you, Allie. And so I want you to know that there is a lot of encouragement here. And thank you guys so much for sharing this out too, because again, this is a message that so many people need to hear. They need to be encouraged by, and they need to understand that someone like Allison, who's willing to be bold enough to share it with us, that she can change their life. And that's, you may change it physically when you help people with massage, but you can change it spiritually and emotionally when you help them with stuff like this. So I'm really proud of you. And I just want you to know, I really appreciate you being here tonight, Allie.
Thank you, Vicki. I'm honored. Like I told you before.
Oh, well, so we're going to do a quick, we're going to do a quick thing. I'm going to explain what, a little bit more about what Evict the Bully is. And then we're going to talk about, supportive groups like the Entrepreneurial Rockstars. So as I just mentioned to you, I have a new book coming out called Evict the Bully in Your Head. We've all grown up we're all a product of our own environment. We've all grown up with, situations and information where people somehow threw little darts at us, right? And said, we weren't good enough. We're not smart enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not thin enough. You're not. And so we started to believe that. And the bully in your head started out as a little bitty baby. For those of you who can see, I'm rocking my arms back and forth, a little bit of baby, but we fed it, we clothed it, we entertained it, and we allowed it to grow to be a big, strong bully that now pushes us around and makes us, and influences what we do because we think about those things before we make the choices we make. And, this show is all about people standing up or dealing with things that are very challenging and dealing with them with grace. And that is, you are the epitome of grace. Again, I just find you so inspirational. When we got to spend time together, I left feeling like a different person. I left because of knowing you changed my heart, and I was really, really blessed to know you. So again, I thank you again for being here. Now you guys know what Evict the bully in your head is. So let's sidebar really fast so we can dive into the meat of the conversation today. Finding a supportive group to help us is really important. And I have a great group called the Entrepreneurial Rock Stars. And so each week we do a rock star of the week, and we've had a couple of glitches that have been my fault. So next week, I think we have Lauren Bellin on the show next week with Dinesh. That will be my guest next week. But if you guys want to be part of the rock star group, part of a safe environment of people that want to help, that want to give at least as much as they get, go to vickifitch.com/freebies and join us. You'll also get on my email list there, and you'll get on the 12 Days of Christmas giveaway that I'm giving away as well. So please do that. And now I'm going to dive back in and talk to Miss Allie. Okay. So Allie, I want to start back a ways, right? So, your story here starts back a while ago. So why don't you talk to us about, there's a marriage in there, there's a pear farm in there, and just weave in some information that brings us, to a place where we can start, to understand where we're going to go.
Okay. So, I went to college, played basketball, worked as a police dispatcher, met my husband while working there, got married. And in the middle of that, it was always like, oh, the next thing that you do, you go to college, you graduate, you get a job, you got to get married. And so that happened, and then did some traveling, had kids. We bought and sold houses, lived in Southern California. And then ended up flash forward, probably it was about 7 years, bought a pear farm. There's lots of, story in between there, but moved to Oregon. So, the movie, We Bought a Farm, We Bought a Zoo.
Yeah.
Be a book called We Bought a Farm. So it was an up and down, very, very rocky marriage. But there were lots of ups and lots of downs. Mm-hmm. Had two beautiful kids together, mm-hmm. and ended up, like I said, we were in Oregon. We moved here in 2004.
Okay.
Bought like I said, pear farm. Didn't know anything about it. Didn't know anything about it. It was seriously, just one of those things. There's a long backstory, how we got there, but mm-hmm. Most of his family lives up here. He had 7 brothers and sisters, and I love them to death. Lots of nieces and nephews, and love their family. So
yeah,
I don't know if that.
Well, no, that's a good thing. So first of all, you were a basketball girl, which I was a basketball girl. So I love that because, it's just, we got that kindred spirit thing going, I just go swoosh and you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, part of this, and I know sometimes it can be challenging, but, I have actually been married. I was married before and divorced. I'm currently married to a wonderful man I've been married to for almost 22 years, but I was married for a year. And that, that was an unstable part in my life. And I can say that, some of the bullies in my head have come from that relationship, some of the things that he told me, and I share these so, people can get a real feel for me as well, and understanding who you are gives them an opportunity to really connect with you. So, my ex-husband left me. He left me. He had an affair. He charged up all my credit cards, took all the money out of the bank, and said, I don't love you anymore. I'm not sure I ever did. I had an affair and I want a divorce. And it was kind of like, oh, okay. So, but my point in sharing that is because what happens then? We as people start to second guess who we are. We start to say, what's wrong? What did I do wrong? How could I have fixed it? And then the bully in our head will start to tell us, or the person who becomes the bully starts to tell us, well, if you would have done this, if you would have done that, if your body was different, if this was different, if that, and so they start to feed these insecurities in us, which start to make us doubt ourselves and makes it more challenging as we go through life and we start making different changes. Do you feel like you went through some changes during the rockiness of the marriage? Do you feel like that affected you in some way?
Yes. I mean, to be honest, in the very beginning, like I said, I was, had this idea of what life was supposed to be like. You go to college, you get, get a job, you get married, but I didn't have this sense of who I was as a person. I felt like, oh, this is what I have to do, and I'm gonna do, like, if you find a married type person, somebody who's stable and like, sometimes we think we need to find somebody that's completely different than me, and then they're gonna save you or whatever, save you from whatever that you're missing a part of your life. And I think that I was so focused on just getting to that end result, like, oh, I need to get married and my life will be great and it'll just be sparkly and Cinderella story. But without really knowing who I was, where I was going, what I wanted, it was just like, oh, we gotta get married. And so I think I lost a lot of, like, who I was as a person, I think, in the process of different things that had happened, and that allowed things that to happen, and really didn't. I just felt like, I became a Christian. I grew up in a home that was, both my parents had been raised, as Christians, but it wasn't like an ongoing thing that was, like, talked about a lot. And
it was consistent and actually lived.
Right. So I think just having the base foundation of going, I was brought up to be a good person, morally, but I really didn't come to, have a relationship with God until the year after I got married, which it was like the first year was really hard. It was really, really, really hard. So, but yeah, I really lost a lot of who I was. I was one Allie before, and then it was just like, I had to I felt, and this is not anything against the relationship.
Sure. Right. Just internal feelings of what was going on.
It was just what I felt like I had to do in order to keep the relationship. I was so fearful of not being that person that, he wanted. And I almost had to put up this fake person in order
a facade,
to keep him, and so that's where I would say that I lost. I just kind of became just a different person.
Well, and that happens to all of us, right? When we go through these different things where all of a sudden, I was 20 when I was married. And so, it was kind of like, that's part of your identity. And for me, it's funny, I didn't want to be a statistic. How silly is that? But that just shows a level of immaturity, right? But it also shows that, preparing yourself, that when things happen to us, we start to question why did it happen to me? Did I do something that put me on this path? Other people will, sometimes say that, oh, there's this in your life or that in your life. And they start feeding that bully in your head. They start filling a trough of information that starts to overwhelm us. And the fact is what we want other people to know before we get into kind of the meat of where we're going is that, first of all, that's not true. That you are who you are, that God made you just the way he wanted you to be. And so we go through these trials and tragedies, but God can always turn it into a blessing. And again, it doesn't mean that we're ever really grateful for the truly difficult times in our life, but later we can at least find the shining lining, right? The silver lining. We can find the joy. We can find the Jesus in, how he will take it and turn it to something lovely. And I think that's what you have done. I think that you have turned your circumstances into a lovely expression that where you share with other people of how they can be the best them that they can be.
Yeah.
So, I know that kind of where some of this is going, and the audience doesn't. And I know that you're starting to get a little uptight, and I see that. So I want you to know that I'm here to serve you, and you just don't, the audience is here as a support. But if there's any time that we need to stop, we will move on to whatever we need to, because you are in a safe place, and I want you to know that. Okay.
Yeah.
I really want you to know that because you're very important. And I do see, I think Mr. Ricky Prime is in the house. So Ricky, thank you for being here, love. The rest of you guys, thanks for being here and sharing this out because again, Allie deserves some heart love there. She deserves some tapping away because she's about to get into something that's challenging. So, rather than beat around the bush, Allie, let's talk about your family. Let's talk about you have 2 children. When were they born? And, kind of bring us through there and give us a little history.
All right. My first daughter, Kayla, was born July 31st, 1999. Beautiful, beautiful baby girl. We lived in Northern California at the time. We lived there for like 6 months and then came back down to Southern California. And then 2.5 years later, little Miley came along. She was born December 30th, 2001. And she's almost 15 now. Kayla would be she'd be 17 and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, going through this, so we're going to, you said she would be, so we know that something has transpired. And so I know that this might be difficult. And so if you want to move in a different direction, you can, but you shared with me when we met, you shared the story with me that impacted me so incredibly that I would love for you to share that story with the audience here. And are you comfortable sharing?
Yeah.
This is where it's at. This is where we as people get defined whether we're either going to fall apart or we're going to, press on. And you just have done such a stellar job. So if you'd share the story with us, I would love to even field some questions from them later, because I know that some people are struggling with this right now. They're experiencing something. So would you share that with us? What transpired?
Sure. Back in July of 2011, Kayla just turned 12 on July 31st. And then 2 days later, it was a Tuesday, and I was at work. I was working at a chiropractor in town. We lived on it was a 10-acre pear farm, we mentioned. And it was like 4 miles outside of town. And so my job was right there on the corner, 5 minutes away. I drove, did like a 7-hour shift. So I would come home during my lunch break. So that particular day, she had gotten some Hello Kitty. I think I bought her some little Hello Kitty charm thingies. I thought they were bigger, so I was kind of complaining, oh gosh, these weren't as big as I thought. So I was like, you can send them back. So was really excited. I came back home and she had already packaged it up and I was going to send it out that day. But I came home for lunch like normal, and she had made my sandwich, and we were all kind of hanging out. It was just me and the girls. And then after lunch, like right before I left, it was just like this. She always gave me hugs. Both the girls used to just give me hugs, and she just did this like, goodbye, Mom. And it was just, okay, bye. It was a great afternoon, just like normal. And on the way out we had 2 driveways. We have this one long driveway that's like a single car could fit through, and then we had this big parking lot because it was like a commercial pear farm. We just had lots of space. It was like a huge parking lot. So I usually would park. I would drive into the driveway and then go out the other driveway where the parking lot was. So on my way out, I just noticed the trash cans were out, and I was like, I called Miley answered the phone. I said, hey, can you girls get the trash cans? Because they were there since the day before. No problem. Okay, bye guys, I love you. And I took off for work. And when I got to work, I get a phone call from Miley, and she's just like, Mom, I took the trash cans in, or my trash can in, but Kayla didn't come back. And there's just all these cars out front. And I was just like, and like instantly, I don't know, it's some mother thing. I'm not really sure, but I knew something was wrong. And I just started going, okay, well, wait, where? I mean, well, go check see if the chickens, maybe she went to go see the chickens. And then I just like, I'm on my way home. And so because I had just walked in and started getting ready for my shift, and I was just like, I gotta go. And so I just took off, and then I just remember driving all the way back, and I called Miley back up, and she's like, Mom, somebody just came to the door, and they were screaming at the door. And I was just like, well, maybe, you know, I was like, well, look outside. Maybe she's, you know, I just kept going, Miley, just maybe she's just, you know, feeding the chickens or something. And the whole way I just kept her on the phone, and you could tell she was upset. And by the time the road is not straight, there was like, it's straight in some areas, and then right before we get to the main part of the highway, there's a flashing light, and I turned the bend, and I could already see sirens and stuff, and cars were backing up. And I get up to the house that's next door to us, and the guy was like, stop. And I'm like, I live there. And as I drove up, I parked into my the driveway, and I could see somebody had a sheet, like kind of like, you know, trying to guard it from some of the neighbors. And I'm like, it's a dog, it's a dog, it's a dog, it's a dog. And I didn't see Miley or anything. And I just kept saying, okay, this is it. And I got out of the car, I just ran over there, and she was just laying there. And she just had a little scratch over her eye. There was no blood or anything. And I just was staring at her. She looked peaceful. She wasn't awake. And they were just starting to work on her. And then I think it was a woman. She came over and she asked me who I was. Like, I'm her mom. She goes, let's just go over here. And then I turn and look, and there was this older lady and two women that were sitting on a tire in front of our driveway. And I just immediately knew that she was probably in the car, the driver or whatever. And I just kind of walked over to them, and I think the words I said, I think, I don't know if we said hi or whatever. I think she asked me if I was the mom, and I said, yeah. And I go, I'm sorry that you're here. And she just looks at me like, what, why are you? And I go, I'm sorry that you're here now in this place right now, you know, because in my mind, I knew what had happened, because I never let the girls go and get the mail. And in my mind, I was thinking, that little turd, she went and got the mail. And just a few, you know, for the 2 weeks before, she had been like, Mom, can I go get the mail? I'm like, no, you can't go get the mail. You can come with me, and we'll keep training, and you can come with me, but no, you're not ready. Because even when I would watch her, she'd do this little, like, you know, I'm like, no, wait, you gotta wait till everything's totally clear. And so in my mind, I was just like, she went and got the mail thinking, I can do this. I'm 12 now. I can do, you know, because that was her. She was like this little spitfire, like, I can do this. I can conquer the world. And not that day. So anyway, that was what had happened. And then eventually they airlifted her. There was the girl that was holding the sheet. She comes over, she goes, we got her breathing again. But I had been studying to go to PT school that summer, and I was taking a class. It was, I forgot what class it was. We were talking about the brain. So there was a lot of talk about brain to the, you know, oxygen to the brain. And so I was already knowing in my mind what is happening. I'm like, it's literally going to take a miracle. And I think I had texted, or I put a Facebook post. I was like, please pray. We need a miracle. Kayla just got hit, or something like that. It was just really short. And because I knew it was just going to take a miracle, because I already knew how long it would have taken for them. They needed to get her going a lot longer than what had transpired. So yeah, they airlifted her. A friend of mine came and picked up Miley and took her back to their house. And another friend came and picked me up, and we drove up to OHSU. And then 2 days, I think we had lots of people started gathering, and very foggy. Rick was my husband at the time was up at work, so he met us there, and it was like this instant, like he looked at me like, because we had problems like just a month before that. I moved upstairs. I was just physically removing myself. That it had happened a few times, a lot of times over the course of our marriage, but it was like when I saw him, it was just like, okay, we have to do this. You know, it was like, okay, this is it. But he had this look on his face, like, you know, desperation, you know, and so we were at the hospital. It was very, I mean, some things are still really foggy. I do remember some, you know, lots of people there, and what she looked like, all that's still burned in my memory, you know, and the different things that needed to happen, and the time frame and everything. And 2 days, basically 2 days had gone by, and they had told us kind of the what's the word? I can't even think, almost like the prognosis, but just like kind of like the reality of what, you know, she was technically brain dead. There was no responses and things. And so they had emergency surgery on her leg. She had, you know, they fixed her up there. Where she was hit, there was blunt force trauma to her abdomen. So her intestine was herniated through her diaphragm. And that's really what caused the lack of oxygen to the brain. So that's where there was nothing going on in the brain. And 2 days later, we did one class. We had some people come in and pray, and praying through the night, and had some angels come and sing. And Isabel, I don't know, but some people know about her, but 2 days later, I think it was a Thursday, they had originally told us there was nothing they can do, but we just said, let's just do one more night. And so people were there just praying over it. And then we did this one last ditch, like, you know, Hail Mary, you know, you're praying over her, and just saying what would happen if God would do this or not. And I was like, I know God's powerful. I know he can do it, but I wasn't going, you know, I knew it's some people believe that, oh, you're not praying enough. If your faith, you obviously don't have enough faith, because if you didn't pray, or, you know, I've just been in situations where I've seen that, and it breaks my heart to see people that believe that okay, now because there must have been something in your life that didn't save her. And I'm like, I never, and I have a really simple faith. It's very, I don't know, I've always been like that. I'm not sure why, but I just knew I didn't question. I didn't have these, like, sometimes people really have these struggles where they're like, why me, God? Why not Kayla? Da, 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 da. And my pastor, it was funny because the first time I had seen him, I think, one of our first conversations back, and he looked at me in the eye and he was like, where are you with God right now? Where are you? And I was just like, I don't know why this is weird. And I was like, I'm struggling. Why am I not angry? I kept saying, why am I not angry at God? Because there's all these, you know, it happens so often where, you know, some people, you blame God, or you might, you kind of blame God for the bad things in your life. But I don't know why I didn't have that. But he, you know, and I just told him, like, what's wrong with me? Why? Why am I not? And he was thankful that I was not. But so that was Thursday, and then in the process we learned about, you know, organ donation, and that for me it was it's awful. It was a no-brainer, but I had always been an organ donor. You know, I always checked that off, and Kayla was like this very, very giving, helpful person, and she loved recycling and making the earth, a better place. And so it just, it totally made sense. It didn't take me much to actually even think of it. I was like, of course we will. And so that started the process of finding recipients, and that was 2 days. I think it was a Thursday. Thursday. So they found 3 people, 2 kidneys and a liver, and that happened on Friday. So Thursday she was officially pronounced dead, and then they kept her on the ventilator to keep the organs viable until Friday. And then Friday we said our last goodbye, and I'm serious, it was like the longest walk in the world, going down that hall, just holding her the whole way. And that was the last time I saw her.
Well, I'm sure everybody in the audience and those listening to the podcast are probably teary, but what I have to point out is that the fact that you were able to be so calm, that is God's grace. That you talk about this simple faith, that's the faith we all strive for, Allie. It's the faith that says, thy will be done, not my will be done. Yes, we're going to pray. Yes, but we're praying, thy will be done, Lord, because if you need to take her home, then we trust you. And as just regular old Homo sapiens, it's challenging for most of us. And yet the peace that surpasses understanding was enveloping you. And I'm sure you've had some challenging times and trying times besides just the emotional part, but that is such an exceptional story that my heart, it wants to break, but it is so encouraged by your faith. It's so encouraged by the witness that you showed the woman who was there, who had just hit your child. And you said to her, I'm sorry you have to be here. You didn't yell at her and scream at her and call her names and say, what were you thinking? Because she was crushed too. So you took her crushed spirit and you bandaged it up with your faith. And that is exceptional, Allie. That's amazing. That is the woman that you are. So when we look at bullies in someone's head, we have to look at you for a moment and say, she could have a bully in her head. She could be asking why. She could be angry. She could be letting it eat her up. But no, she's a woman of faith. She's a woman that has accepted God's will be done, that God chose to take her home, and that's okay, because you have then become now an advocate for so many things. You have given a voice to so many things, and you've given encouragement to so many people that, again, we would never want what's transpired, but we can see God's grace in it. And that is so amazing, Allie. And I hope that you really do know, and I hope enough people have shown you and said to you, that's exceptional. That is not average or normal. That's exceptional.
Yeah, I've gotten it a few times. I've heard it a few times. It's still hard for me to kind of hear. It's still hard. Like in high school, I was the most inspirational athlete, and I was like, why? What did I do? And I'm like, oh, I had knee surgery in my junior year, and I came back to play. Oh, okay, I guess that's inspirational. Whatever. But, when I think of inspirational, I think of people that are like, these, Tony Robbins, and I'm like, oh, it's not me. Sorry. So I don't know.
Yeah, you don't have to be, inspiration doesn't have to be loud. Inspiration is watching someone's walk, and watching someone walk in truth, and watching someone live the life that they claim to have. So, this, like I said, that story, it broke my heart. And of course, there's so many more details and so many more things. But, we're going to kind of move into the part of, what happens afterwards? How do we recover? How did you hold that faith, or did you go through periods of anger and frustration? We want to know how that affected your relationship with your spouse, and how it affected your relationship with your daughter and your family and your community. Some people will judge that, that you shouldn't have done this, or you shouldn't have done that, or, I know that those things happen. And so whatever ones that you are willing to discuss, I'd like for you to share, because I do know that someone watching this is going through something very similar right now, and you are changing their life. I know that for a fact. So could you share some of that with us, whatever you're comfortable?
Sure. Like I said, it was just me, my daughter, and my husband. And my family, my mom and my brother were just in Southern California. And then I had, a lot of extended relatives up here on Rick's side. So our little unit, it was like, I just had to hunker down and just try to keep us going, keep Miley going. So that, like, my focus was, I was supposed to go to PT school. I was starting like 2 weeks later, and I just, nope. I turned that off. I was like, my priority right now is just getting through this. And it was every day. It was a very, very, like, for the first 2 weeks, I think, I was still like on this, still in shock, obviously. So I was just trying to do everything to keep Miley going, and I know I grieve differently. That was probably the biggest thing, is learning, is that people grieve differently, and I express grief, and I cope with things differently than my ex or even Miley. So I had to it was really hard for both of us to understand that. And so I think you talk about grief, and, like, let's say, you already have quirks and weaknesses and a personality in your marriage. Just throw that all in a blender and then turn it on. And that's what happens after you lose a child. It's everything gets just blown up out of the water, and, to bits. And so after a few months, I mean, we went to like support groups as a family. I was going to counseling on my own. Miley was going to counseling, and then slowly but surely we started trying to work on things together. And then it just seemed like there was just so many things that had been unresolved in our relationship prior, that it basically came down to a choice of, do I continue going down this road of, there was very many times during the marriage where I fought, and I did as much as I could to try to make it work. And when it came down to this, it was like, okay, this is the very last try. If we can't work on these issues, if we can't go back and somehow resolve, and sometimes you can't, forgive and forget, yes, but do we really forget? No, you can forgive, but if habits and behaviors are continuing, that if I'm not seeing things that I'm doing that are being destructive in a relationship, if I'm not changing that, then it's not gonna grow. And even before I started noticing things that were happening, that even my girls were expressing, and I just started going, this is what they're seeing. They're modeling things after me. They're seeing that this is what boys' behavior should be.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It was probably 3 years before, and I clicked, and I was like, I can't keep teaching the girls thinking that this is okay, that this is what a marriage should look like, Christian or not. It was just like I had all these beliefs about how I'm supposed to be as a wife, and some of it was kind of warped. And that's where I was saying I lost all sense of who I was. I lost all like my self-esteem. I was like, there were some stories about different counseling sessions where they were like, how are you feeling right now? And I'm like, okay, see this piece of paper? So I put a piece of paper on the table and I take a Bible and I like slam it. And I'm like, that's how I feel right now. But when I finally started realizing that things were not, it wasn't a normal health, like it wasn't a normal marital conflict. I started educating myself, and it's almost like, you know how they say knowledge is power. I started realizing that things were not normal. And so that's when I had it started getting worse because I wasn't allowing things to happen. I was speaking up. I was starting to get my voice. And but this was, like I said, before all the Kayla stuff happened. But afterwards, then it's just like, okay, it was like a crash course in having to, are we going to do this or not? And for once I had actually put down things that I needed from the marriage to stay. And I never did that before. I brought in some people that, you know, thankfully, there were times where, you know, some pastors in previous churches were, they just didn't get it. And then I've had two pastors up here, Pastor Jack and Pastor Tim, who were, I'm just very, very thankful that they were in my life, that they were able to see after a while. So lost my train of thought, but
well, as you're sharing stuff that, again, people need to hear, is that, you know, you get put into a pressure cooker. You're already having some dysfunction and some difficulty, and you get put into a pressure cooker, and sometimes that pressure cooker explodes. And, you know, you've taken the Bible and smacking it on a piece of paper because that's how you feel. You know, that you started to have feelings, like you started to realize that I don't have to keep suppressing my feelings. I'm allowed to feel, because otherwise I think that you would have self-imploded, you know, without being able to try and figure out what was going on, and to be that mom, because that person that has to be there for everyone, which I think is who you are, trying to support your husband, trying to support, you know, Miley, trying to support yourself, trying to support your clients, trying to support your family, trying, you know, and just being stretched so thin. And yet you still were able to try and evict that bully in your head, the one that says you have to stay. This is what you committed to. You have to stay in this marriage. You know, the voice of reason started reminding you that there are certain things that are deal breakers, that we do not have to take abuse. We do not have to take adultery. We do not have to take these things the Bible says. I'm not saying that's what happened in your life. I'm saying the Bible says these things. And so, you know, to having the courage to then stand up and say, hey, I have to find a safe environment for myself. I have to find a safe environment for my daughter. You know, I have to heal, and I can't heal when it's this festering wound that continues to have, you know, infection, that we've got to heal that wound. And so your choice to heal the wound also makes you a stellar, admirable woman, that instead of staying and getting beaten down and falling apart and then just letting a steamroller roll over you, and, you know, where would Miley be right now if that had happened? So, you know, you're just, again, showing where a bully can come in and attack. The bully in your head that tells you you're not good enough or smart enough or strong enough. This shouldn't have happened. You shouldn't have. He shouldn't have. They shouldn't have. We shouldn't have. All those things, the woulda, shoulda, couldas, can kill us. But you didn't let that stop you. You continued on, and you persevered through that, and then, you know, and then transitioned into single parenthood, right? So could you, you know, share that part with us?
Yep. So after it was 2014 when it was finally final. It was actually before that, that our separation was 2012. So I had to, even before then, I was already starting to, I was going to PT school, to, if the family obviously stayed, it would be, just focusing in on a different career track, which I generally wanted to do in the first place. I never really wanted to be a farmer, but it is what it is. And it was an adventure, but I wanted to find my passion again. And so having to think of starting over and building a career again and the way that I wanted to, not anyone else, or circumstantial or whatever. So the PT school went down. So I was like, okay, what's next? I had been going to massage school. I put myself through doing that. I had some money that my grandparents had left me that I didn't know about. So I basically that's how I kind of started getting back on the career track. But then when the PT thing I had to put that aside because it was a 2-year very intense program. So I was like, okay, I already have my massage license because I had already got that in 2010, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I have this. This is what I'm going to build off of. And so that's where I decided I had already been starting to work out of the home before the accident and everything. So when I moved out, I was super blessed with somebody introducing me to a chiropractor in town. And so I started working with him. And then eventually I started looking for a small office in town to do my massage practice. And that's where it's been growing since then. But yeah, it was definitely different because all my life I was a stay-at-home mom, and I kind of what do you call it, moonlighted with my massage therapy license when I would work from home or I had a really nice gig in California.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always, stay-at-home mom, hands-on mom, farmer, Allie, whatever. But I was always at home with them. So I had done little bits and pieces of part-time stuff here and there, but never was fully needing to support myself before. So
right.
Definitely a transition. But again, the bully in my head was I was remembering, you can't do that. Why, you're not doing it right. This is how I want to do it, and I'm going to do it my way. So now I'm definitely doing it my way. I fumble. I mean, I'm still learning every single day. I'm not learning something every day, going, okay, that was a mess up. All right, go to sleep, wake up, start all over, that's the only way you grow. So I just keep, plugging away at things. I'm always going to be, weak in areas, but if I can just, attack those things and just know, okay, this is not my strength, but if I can get somebody else to do it, great. If not, then figure it out. But so yeah, I think.
Well, and that's how we step up. That's how we teach our kids that it's time to step up and stand out, and that when life knocks us down, that we have to get back up. And we might get up slowly. We might get up on our knees first, and we might crawl, but we get up. And that movement, that transition of I'm not going to lay down and die, that I'm going to remember her. I'm going to, keep her memory alive, and I'm going to show people that, it's okay, that it's not what we wanted to happen, but we're going to survive. And, you had talked, and Rob, I don't know, do we have the photo of Allie and Kayla together? I think they were on a boat and they were next to each other, because you were talking about how you were a bit of a Spitfire. I think it was number 2.
Miley.
If you have it, you don't have it. Okay.
We're on the boat. That's Miley.
Okay. So you've had, were you on the boat? No, not that picture. Maybe it wasn't on a boat, but you were with Kayla, I think, on this one. But you also, we want to talk about Miley. We want to talk about, no, not that one, but that was lovely. Thank you for putting that up earlier. That's the 2 girls. And I love that goofy face. Is that Miley with the goofy eyes? Or was it?
On the right,
Yeah.
that was Caleb here.
Was
Hi,
it?
Miley. Hey.
Oh, well, hey, we're just talking about her. So we have another guest that is here. So, well, was just going to actually talk about, and for those of you guys who are on the podcast, you really do have to watch episode 10, Vicki Fitch Live, Evict the Bully in Your Head with Allison Krause as my guest. And again, you guys can see that on several locations, VickiFitch.com, on the Vicki Fitch Live page, or here on Facebook. You've done such an exceptional job that, again, you're inspiring the audience. There's some really great comments. Michael says he admires the wholehearted and resilient being you are. I mean, what an amazing thing that is for someone to say about you, Allison. They're just, again, as I look at these things, he also says, never look down on yourself for not exploding at the time in anger or out of control. I think you knew it was her time and you supported that respectfully and admirably. So, as we look at this, these people are supportive of you and the grace and dignity which you handled the worst fear that most people have, of something happening to their children. And so when we look at that, though, let's talk about Miley for a minute, and how did she transition? Does she, I know many kids that have gone through this that start comparing themselves and wishing it was them, and why did it happen, or why does everybody care so much, and I feel like now I live in her shadow. So what did Miley go through? What is she even maybe going through now, as she's now 15 years old, which puberty can really mess with you anyway, let alone when you've had a tragedy like this.
Right. Well, she definitely looked up to her big sister. They were like, that was like her best friend. Mm-hmm. And I remember that moment when we had to tell her that she was gone. And that was like what she said was, she goes, she was my best sister. And it was just like, my only sister, or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it was just gut-wrenching because she looked up to her. Yeah, they were sisters. They fought and they did, Kayla was not perfect. I'm not a perfect mom. But I know, a lot of times when people die, they just show all the great stuff. I'm like, Kayla was a turd. There were some moments I'm like, you little, I still have, recordings of me, arguing with her and telling her, you're not getting that birthday that you wanted, because right. She did the right thing. So, but the sister, just losing your sister, and she didn't, at the time she was 9.5. I think for her to process that, and I do remember the conversations of like what would happen.
Is that one Miley? Is that Miley in the picture that he just put up? Okay. That was the one I thought.
There. That picture kind of like, that like summarizes our relationship. She's like this old soul. She's always just like, Mom. I'm just always trying to get her to, come on, loosen up. And just like, I don't know. It's just sometimes really, really funny because she balances me. And Kayla was a lot more out, like, very expressive and very, mm-hmm. blah, blah, blah. And I have both the girls took little bits and pieces of me, parts of, I have my quiet kind of reserved side, just more like, I'm just going to observe. And then I have my moments when I'm just like, so that picture is Miley going, Mom.
Mom, I've had enough of your momness. So how did she feel through this? Do you feel, how did her transition go through as, being there when it happened? And, did she end up feeling that same overwhelm? Would you say that a bully was planted in her head from this, or do you feel like that she's really dealt with it emotionally, that how do you feel like she is?
I feel like she's got this little side of her where she's similar to me in some ways, where she wants everybody else to be okay. And she wants everybody to think she's okay.
Sure.
And they say that, there's different phases in like as far as child development, when a child loses, goes through trauma, that they're going to process things at different ages. And I think that she's kind of in that point where she's just like, you know what? I know that she's not like she's trying to create, who she is.
Sure.
And I think she was living in the shadow of her sister for a while. And I was always like really encouraging her. I really wanted both of my girls to be who they were. Don't be anybody else.
Right.
Try to be like anybody else. Don't try to get into the in crowd just because you think it's, you're going to be popular or whatever. So
Right.
I really was trying to instill in both of them just you're you. And there were some conversations that were kind of awkward that, well, Kayla did this. Kayla was like, I'm like, you're not Kayla.
Right.
Don't let anybody else tell you how you're supposed to act.
Right.
Because you're not Kayla. And right. I had, even sometimes I even have to catch myself still, where like when she's transitioning to new high school, I was like, no, you should be with your friends. You should be with your, I want you to be here with everybody that all of Kayla's friends are going to be at this high school. Why are you not doing that? And then I had to go, wait, she had said something to me that was really like, it cut. I was like, oh, she said, I just want to start fresh. And I was like, and it got to me. I was like, she just wants to be Miley. She doesn't want to be anybody's little sister. And I kind of relate to that because I was a little sister. I was always called Krause's little sister. So that's when it hit me. I was like,
she's just trying to figure out who she is, right?
Yeah. And I think it was the hardest decision to let her go. And, but yeah, it was a good decision.
Yeah. And it shows again, the strength of you as a mom, because it's hard. It's hard to change what's been consistent, because oftentimes we think that consistency is what's going to help the child. But I have that the other book coming up after Evict the Bully in Your Head that's called Own It, How to Step Up and Stand Out. And it's really about owning who you are and being okay with who you are and finding your own tribe. My son has Asperger's, and so, he's always felt a little quirky. And so just like, Miley is feeling like, I just need to figure out who I am. I need to be me and not somebody's sister or somebody's, this. I just want to start fresh. And the fact that she was able to verbalize that shows that you as a parent have given her a voice, that you as a parent, have given her the courage to not just conform, but to try and share what she's thinking. So the trial you went through of feeling like you were suppressed and having to use somebody else's measuring stick, you've given her the gift of not having to do that. And that is, that's an amazing thing. Again, that's a gift that so rarely people get, that I hope that you're really, really recognizing the magnitude of that gift, because it's so tremendous. I can't even put a value on it.
Yeah. It brings me to tears sometimes when I can hear her talking to other people or whatever. And she's like way ahead of the curve, like her being able to verbalize things and her feelings, like the way that she does now. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's getting it, and I'm like, you're not saying anything about me, but I was just like, that's amazing. Cause I'm like, I didn't learn this until, I
was 30, right?
So that makes me so excited for her that she can do that now. She's just a teenager.
And it looks like, I know we have some other pictures that Rob was going to put up. You told me a story about when you guys went to the beach as part of an anniversary and part of your healing process. And so why don't you tell us about this perfect sand dollar and stuff, and then we'll have Rob there. So tell us about that sand dollar.
Yeah, this is
it's hard to see that it's purple in there, but when you get closer, you can see that underneath the dirt, right? That it was a purple sand dollar, right?
Yes. So probably, I don't know, it was within weeks, I don't know, after the accident, I would just start like, I would just want to feel her presence. I could feel her, but I'm like, God, show me a sign, just Kayla, just show me something. And things would start popping up. I would just start finding hearts in places and just really random things in nature or, on a on a napkin or piece of gum or whatever, and I would start, oh yeah, there's the sand dollar, sorry. So this particular trip was 2 years after, and me and Miley had gone to the beach alone, and I usually, like, especially on a day like this, I was just really like praying, you know, show up, please, just show up. And I called them Kayla kisses, and it started this thing on Facebook where my friends I would post them. My friends started posting and sending them to me or whatever. But this particular one was like one of the like bigger moments, because we had been looking for just any kind of sand dollar that was just in one piece. Just everything was broken and everything. We could not find one. And then finally Miley was like, Mom, look at this one. And it was like had a purple tint to it. And I had never seen, or, you know, never seen anything like it before. Mm-hmm. So that was like an amazing moment. And then we were shocked. Oh, yeah, great, great, great. So we were walking back to the car after we kind of were playing on the beach for a while. She was just looking for shells and things. And on the pathway, I don't know what, but sometimes things catch my eye, and I just kind of glanced over, and there's this, and you know, some people pour water out of their bottle and it just kind of clumps up sand. You can ask Miley, I swear, I didn't do that.
We believe you. We believe you.
Exactly what I saw, and I just was going, no way. It's a heart, you know. Mm-hmm. So things like that would show up, and out of the blue. So it would start, you know, like I said, sending me them. They would post them on my Facebook page or text them to me, and so I finally started collecting them on a page, Kayla Kisses. And so it's just a place where I could just put them, to share them with people in one spot. And I have like a jar, it's a jar of hearts. It literally is a jar of hearts of rocks and coral, the things that people have picked up, and they send it to me, or they hand it to me. And we found this down in, you know, Baja, California. We found this on a hike. Or so I've just collected a lot of those over the years, and it just gives me like this, like, you know, saying hi. She's like going, what's up, you know. Yeah. Peeps. And that's, I don't know, I just always, I feel like it's like I can feel, I don't know how to explain it, but I can feel her a lot, and I can almost, it's not like I'm hearing her voice, like, you know, sure, God speaking, hi, but it's almost like I know. It's both Miley and Kayla inspire me. They motivate me to get up every day. Sometimes I roll over and I'm like looking, you know, I'm like, was it a bad dream? Mm-hmm. It was just a bad dream. And every day it's like, yeah, no, it wasn't. Right. But both of my girls, they both equally, you know, motivate me to get up and keep going every day. It's thank God, but it's a constant battle. You know, some days are worse, better than others, some of them. And
it will continue to be that way. But the way that you continue to press on and encourage others and share your story to give hope to other people, even when it's painful, because I know today was painful. I mean, it was painful for us listening. We know that it was certainly painful for you reliving a circumstance in your life that you wish had never happened. And yet you still did it with dignity and grace. And you still blended in your pain and your passion. You took that tragedy and the trials and you shared your triumph, that you find Kayla Kisses, and that you've taught your daughter to stand up for herself, and that you have chosen to no longer, and this is funny, right? That no longer to present yourself like this in photographs where we only get half of you, right? And now we get the whole.
You know what I was going to say is like, I honestly, I don't mind sharing. I don't mind talking about it. I really don't. It is hard, but sometimes I'm like that, like people pleaser. I don't want to make other people uncomfortable because it is a very awkward topic. You know, people like when I tell people, oh yeah, I have 2 girls. They're like, oh, great. I'm like, a senior and a freshman. I'm like, oh, I did it. And then I'm like, okay, I could go 2 ways with this. I could just keep on going. Oh yeah, she loves school. She really loves it. Or I can, you know, sometimes depending on how long I'm gonna be, around this person, and I can tell them or not. So it's a really interesting balance, because sometimes, when I do say it, it's just like,
right.
Deer in headlights, and people don't know what to say. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't want to make you cry. I'm like, trust me, you're not going to make me cry. The tears are already there, but sometimes
you just turn the spigot on. I always call it, it's like a pressure release valve, right? We need the tears have to come out, otherwise we'll explode. So it's okay.
Exactly. So just for people out there, if you do know of somebody that has lost, a child, or, it's worse for me when people don't say anything at all. As far as don't ignore, like, I love hearing Kayla's name. When you just say, oh, I thought about Kayla the other day, and I remember this, it's worse when people just like turn the other way and just, kind of like, that's harder for me. So people are awkward because you don't want to say something that's wrong,
right,
or more harmful, but just acting like it never happened or they never existed is the worst thing.
Yeah. I totally understand that. My family has, as we try and bring some levity to your situation for a moment, when my mother died, and actually when my father died, my sisters say they don't do death. Like, what does that even mean? Right. And so they didn't want to talk about it, their deaths. They didn't want to, it's like they didn't exist. Like, don't talk about it because somebody might get upset. And yet at my husband's family, when his mother passed away a couple months after my mother did, and they have the album that I made for her out and a display as soon as you walk in the door. So she's a topic of conversation. She's part of their life. It's not, we don't try and pretend they didn't exist because it might hurt someone. We engage in the fact that they're not with us anymore, but we still love them. And that's what stories like this share, is that you can still love people that are no longer here in this earthly realm. And the fact that the blessing that you will get to reunite with her in heaven someday is an amazing thing that can give you hope and courage as well, while you continue to encourage the people here. And she throws little Kayla kisses down from heaven, right? And gives you gives you that inspiration. I know that there are some foundations and charities and stuff that are near and dear to your heart. Would you care to share those? And while we have about 15 minutes as we're wrapping up, share a little bit about those charities, if they did something for you, or why they're near and dear to your heart.
First one that I probably got involved with was Donate Life Northwest, and that's the kind of umbrella organization that we got involved with because the fact that Kayla was an organ donor. So at first it was just going to some of their events where they invited, donor families to, be with other families just like us that had lost a child or, a loved one. So they would have these donor recognition ceremonies every year. We've done almost every year we've gone, or at least I've gone. My mom has come up, some of my sister and brothers-in-laws have come. And those are hard because you're there with other people that are going through the same thing, but amazing people. So different events where I volunteer, just handing out information. I went to Comic-Con last year. It was hilarious too. So just doing different things. I'm called an ambassador, so I had to take some training classes for those just to, be able to give the correct information out. And then I'm getting involved with becoming an educator in the high schools. And that's my goal, is to actually get, be one of the speakers. I've done it a couple times, shadowing and alongside of other speakers that have done it before, but actually going into high schools and teaching kids, at that age, that they're allowed, they have this decision to make, and it is a very important decision. And so that's been one of them, because sharing Kayla's story through that it's powerful, because those kids, they're like, wow, she was my age, or she would be a senior this year, things like that. So that one's very dear to me.
And did you ever get to meet the donors, or do they ever give you any contact with the people that you donated to?
Yeah, they gave us recipients, like kind of like guided us with how to, what you can write.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent 3 letters out. I got 2 back, one from the kidney and one from the liver recipient, one of the kidneys and one of the liver. And that was amazing. And I've been really, honestly, really bad at keeping up with them, because I kept going, every year I'm like, I need to write to them. I need to find out. And I want to meet them. I want to meet them all. But I know that I've met some people in my life that have been recipients, and they've had a really hard time communicating. So, but hearing their story and hearing, just for me to be able to engage with them, for me being kind of like being the voice of the person that maybe was
right,
the donor family person. It's been pretty amazing. But hopefully someday.
Yeah, and that how many people got organs? 3? Was it 3 or was it more?
3. Originally, we thought that they really tried to get a heart, but the heart is the only organ that needs to be very specific size for the body that's going into.
Gotcha.
So we needed to find a small person, because Kayla was small, and it had to be right kind of tissue and everything. So they didn't, unfortunately, usually they start regionally, just really close by, and then they just kind of go out, and they looked pretty much all of North America, I want to say. I could be wrong, but they really went as far as they could, and they couldn't find a match. So unfortunately, they did take out her valves, and we thought that there was a match there, but they said that they didn't find anything there. But I think they were able to use it for some research. I think that's what it was. So.
And you think about that, when we look at what we call the bright side, right? When obviously there's a lot of darkness there, but the bright side of watching that God chose to take her, and yet he saved 3 people from her sacrifice. And that it's like a mini version of what Jesus did, right? That he died on the cross for all of our sins. And that when she left, she got to save, some people. And that, again, just saying that, I just feel so lighthearted, right? I feel so empowered, and I just feel so much closer to God as I look at how he takes our trials and he makes something beautiful of them, and blesses people. And it's just, it's such an amazing thing. I don't know. I just feel so, so blessed by the whole thing. And, and I know you do too. And I know that there are people here that are listening around the entire world, including people that are in your own backyard. So I want to talk to them just a teeny bit about you and your business, because you are a massage therapist. You do have a business and a website called Personal Needs, KNEADS, right? Right. I think is really fantastic as we look at the fact that you've learned to stand up for yourself and take care of your personal needs, and you are handling other people's personal needs by, taking out some of their stress and trauma, and delivering compassion at times when they may need it, or, aggression. Like if you're doing my shoulders, you need a lot of aggression. But tell them a little bit about your business, so people that are in that local area might be able to connect with you and maybe become a client.
Okay. Yeah. I'm located in Canby, Oregon. It's a little town south of Portland. Really, really, really excited to be where I'm at now. I'm in a professional building upstairs, and I offer, it's just me and me. And I work I usually work about 5 days a week. I try to take a Wednesday and a Sunday off for my hands to give them a break, personal needs, and generally, people ask me what my style is, and I'm pretty eclectic, but I offer like a relaxation. I could do sports, deep tissue, and then it's called active myofascial therapy. It's more, it's very integrative and very interactive. It's a lot for people that have more chronic pain and acute pain too, but things that have been long-term issues that have been going on. So, but generally, sometimes people, I'm trying to get people to understand that massage is not just for the rich and famous, and it's not just a luxury, but a lot of people are seeing it, that it's becoming more of like an actual something, a lifestyle to include in your wellness plan.
Yeah.
And like from maintenance, it's preventative, and people are getting off of their meds by going and getting massages. You know, a lot of people.
Absolutely. And see, that's what people need to see, is that it's not, that massage isn't just, you know, this luxury item. It is part of your health plan. And, you know, things like you, and I hope you're getting massages too, as a massage therapist. Sometimes, you know, it's like the cobbler's kids' shoes have holes in them, right? Sometimes we take our own, we're excellent at what we do, but we forget to take our own advice. And I hope that you are, you know, spending some time making sure that your health plan is intact. And again, you guys, I would recommend that you go check out her website. And if you're in that area, definitely connect with her. Cause I can tell you personally, she did some massage work on me, and I have some of the tightest shoulders on the planet. And she was able to get in there and do some amazing. I know. She's like, oh my gosh, I think her thumbs almost broke, right? Trying to get in there. But you do excellent work. And again, watch you as you talk, as you share, with the heart of gold, with the integrity of someone who, again, is grounded in her faith. And I'm just so excited about that. And, you know, I would love to, is there anything else people can do to work with you? We have a couple minutes, and I want to show your favorite quote and do a quick wrap up. But is there anything else you wanted to share with everybody before we sign off?
No, the other thing that I'm getting involved with is called Right Around Portland, and I love writing. I felt like I had writer's block for years, and I was able to get involved with this organization too, just in this past 8 months. And it's almost like a writing support group. I was able to go in with the people from Donate Life. They invited me to go into this workshop together, and so it was a bunch of other, you know, either grieving either parents or spouses. They were all people from Donate Life Northwest. And it was just like a creative writing workshop. And it was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting my writing voice back. And so I've been really super blessed to be able to get involved with them. They asked me to apply for the board of directors. So
wow, let's see there. She cringes like, oh, but don't let the bully in your head tell you not to do that.
Just like, wow, you know, humbling, very, very humbling. So that's one of those other things that I'm enjoying. And then Five Rock Ranch is another amazing. There's lots of things I like to get my hands into, and
besides people's skin, their muscles.
But Five Rock Ranch has been also a huge blessing in my life, because they cater to single moms and even women that are, you know, in really horrible situations, and they go and rescue them, and single young, teenage boys that don't really have father figures. So that it's a really great ministry that I've been just really, really supremely blessed by. And
we will put some links in the show notes for all those things. We'll put links in there for all those areas of things that you're interested in for them donating. And then we had a favorite. I always ask people their favorite quote, and you shared a quote from your daughter, and I thought, wow, first of all, it's an amazing quote. And the fact that, you know, she as such a young lady at 12 years old, you know, was saying this, it's pretty impressive. So I think Rob's going to pop that up for us. And so, I'd rather live a short and happy life than a long, miserable one. Like, that's gold right there. I mean, so for a 12-year-old to pop that up, and we say, yeah, because as adults, we should wish for the same thing, you know, a short and happy one, which is what she had, you know, is really amazing, instead of a long, miserable one, which we know people, you know, let's just use Ebenezer Scrooge as an example, instead of trying to go from somebody from our own playbook that might get insulted by saying that out loud.
Yeah, that was, I think she said that maybe a couple weeks before the accident. And it was kind of, she had written a prompt about, it was the prompt at school was called 100, and it was talking about living to, did you want to live to to be 100.
Mm-hmm.
And she had written something like, no, I'd much rather, live a short and happy one. But she had written this out, and she was referring to seeing people, because I had worked in assisted living before, and she was just like saying, look, I've seen people, they're just waiting to die. They're just sitting around lonely, waiting to die. And then the day that I remember her actually saying, she's like, no, I'd rather live a short and happy one. Because like, who wants to live like that?
Well, again, a girl that was obviously wise beyond her years, for sure. And as we look, we have to wrap this up, guys, because Facebook's kind of particular about us being at the 90-minute mark. And so I want to remind you guys that it's Christmas time, and one of our sponsors, Archon Mounts, has some incredible gear for you to use for your live streaming needs, and for even when you're just videotaping your family and friends. And so right now, you guys, if you use the code FitchSlap at archon.com, you get a 20% off discount for on all of those products. So again, it's ARKON.com. And if you use the code FitchSlap, you'll get 20% off your entire order. And I have to tell you, they have some really cool stuff for Christmas gifts, like car mounts, using extra car chargers. I mean, those are great gifts, because I don't know if you guys are like my family, but we're always misplacing some of those things. And again, using some of the gear is what I use for live streaming every day. It's amazing. We also have a reminder of next week's broadcast on Wednesday. There is no show on Monday because there is a Blab reunion. For those of you who were on Blab, Joel Com is doing a Blab reunion on Monday night at the same time of my show. So I figure I want to be there, and all my friends that usually watch the show are going to want to be there. So we're going to be there all together. On Wednesday night, I have Dinesh coming in from Recur Post. He is, wow. You want to talk an amazing story? Dinesh is a freaking rock star that is hiding. Nobody even knows he's there until he comes out. So you don't want to miss that next Wednesday night on Vicki Fitch Live, A Fresh Perspective. There is also, we have on the hunt for he. I'm still looking for my he. Although I have to say, most of you guys are really vying for Wagner being my permanent he. So, but if you guys are interested, I want you to go to Vicki Fitch. He said redsaid.com and hit the button to apply for the he. You guys will be getting emails this week. Those of you that have applied, we're going to be doing a fun little segment in January, and kind of playing around with things and letting some voting be done, because I do need I need a permanent man in my life. I just need a permanent man. And yes, I'm married. I'm not talking about that kind of man. I'm a happily married woman. And then I'm going to present Allie's all of her social media information. We want you to be able to connect with her, because she does do some great Snapchat. She does do a whole lot of wonderful stuff. So right now we have Allie's card. You guys take a screenshot of that, and notice the Snapchat, though. I have to tell you, all of her emails all of her stuff is the same except for Snapchat. Those are ones instead of L's there, so it looks a little bit different. And she does do some rocking. Although that one's, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, I'm looking at it really quick and making sure it was right. But she does some great Snapchats. This is a girl that's all over social media, and no longer does a half face plant. She is back to the full frontal.
Most part.
So I am going, you guys, again, you have been an excellent, yeah, there she goes. She's trying to give you the half face, the half partials. I was teasing her about it when we were at Summit, telling her, I want to see your whole face. Anyway, we do have to wrap this up, but thank you so much for being here, sweetheart. You are amazing. For those of you guys, again, that are on the podcast, please make sure to check out episode 10 of Vicki Fitch Live, Evict the Bully in Your Head with Miss Allison Krause. You can get it on VickiFitch.com, on YouTube, on Facebook.com/VickiFitch1. We are so glad that you're here. And for those of you who don't know me, I want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Vicki Fitch. I'm a direct sales expert. I've been in the industry 20 years, top 10 sales and recruiting internationally for more than a decade. I've also built and sold 4 successful companies. I'm an author, a speaker, and an international business consultant, helping you get outside the 5,000 to turn your passion into your profits. If you'd like a free consultation, go to VickiFitch.com, VICKI, F as in Frank, ITCH.com/20. I'd love to get connected with you. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I want to remind you, like I always do, to dream it, believe it, and achieve it. Ciao.